Karinda was saying that as part of the development, we understand that it was also going to have beautiful sight of the Table Mountain, iconic Table Mountain at that.
Well, certainly this apartment building would have sights of some of the mountains here in George, and the application, the first application for what would be this 5-story building goes back to 2020. As you take a look at the site as it is now, I'd like to just take you back to what the municipality has told us. On September 2020, the first pre-application form was submitted for this proposed development to the municipality by Jan Vrolik town planners. Coincidentally, their offices are right next to this building. It's been closed since the collapse. They said their intention was to develop a 5-story block of flats with a rooftop deck. The municipality said that the addition of this rooftop deck would result in the allowed 15-meter building height to be exceeded by 2.17 meters. In March 2021, the town planner, Jan Vrolik town planners, then submitted an application to rezone this area from a business zone to a residential zone. The municipality says that at this stage and throughout the land use application process, they only looked at the development concept, meaning they only looked at the architect's preliminary drawings to understand what the overall development would look like and the impact it would have on its surroundings. There was a public participation process that followed, but no comments or objections were received at the time. Then, in September 2021, another application was approved by the town's acting Deputy Director for Planning, Mr. Clinton Peterson, and this came with certain conditions for the building to comply with regard to a residential zone. Going forward then, in April 2022, so 2 years ago, an application was submitted for land use planning, and this was approved by the site development plan. Apologies there. So this application was submitted by Dion van der Westhuizen Architects on behalf of the owners, Neo Victoria Developments. So going forward, that's just some history. But then in July 2023, the building plan application was approved. And this is critical because this application indicated the engineer that would be on site and the registration number. The forms that the engineer would submit would indicate that they were a competent person that does have professional indemnity. This engineer, Athol Mitchell, declared in those forms that he had the necessary qualifications, the experience, and the contextual knowledge to undertake the work proposed. The value of this development, Aldrin, as you mentioned, was over 39.5 million rand at the time of the approval. It was supposed to be a 5-story building, 42 apartment blocks, a rooftop deck, as I mentioned, and then the basement and parking levels. Just going forward now, at the time of this collapse on Monday, the construction progressed up to the concrete roof and with other disciplines installing other services. So example, constructors or employers like Gabriel Guamba installing or laying tiles on some of the stories there. He was on the 3rd story. So that was the progress when the building essentially caved in, and you see the destruction before you now. Now, as we look at accountability, various companies have spoken out or reached out via their attorneys through the media. One, Neo Victoria Developments, the property owner, told one media house through their attorneys that the contractor was they appointed a contractor to oversee the construction of this building, and that Neo Victoria Development itself had no employees on the site of the construction. Ultimately, the employees were employed by contractors or subcontractors. Lytile Developments, which was the contractor, also released a statement to my colleague Sipa Kema saying ultimately that they're trying to assist with the rescue mission and the investigations will follow at their time, but not releasing too many details ultimately about their role in this. And perhaps that at that point is going to form part of investigations. Now, as we go forward, earlier in the week, we saw the Labour and Employment Minister just briefly speak about some of the investigations. And before I throw to a bite, as I stand here, it seems that another body has been found. Earlier on, we saw some tarp being placed on, and then now we see a stretcher come in, and it seems like they are going to recover that. So that is the stage now. So as bodies are still being recovered, just following that miracle survivor, it seems like the department's investigations need to continue. So while we watch this unfold, just earlier in the week, we heard the provincial chief inspector for the department speak about their efforts in investigations. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Today we arrived. We then tried to make contact with the client, which is the owner of this premises. The address on our system, we went to that address and it was locked. We then proceeded to issue a subpoena. And up until today, there has been no response from that particular person. So we will proceed with our legal processes. I'm hearing everywhere that he's making contact with people through his attorneys. That's not our business. He is obliged by law to make contact with the Department of Labor.
So that was earlier this week with regards to the investigations at that time. But when the police minister does come here, we expect him at 12:30. We of course will ask more questions about the state of their investigations currently. Have they finally gotten hold of the property owners, the contractors, the subcontractors that were all responsible for these various processes we saw from 2020, September 2020, going back to, of course, Monday, when the rooftop had just been constructed in terms of the concrete slabs laying there and that building caving in. There are some reports by some of the workers who've been on site, allegations at this time that the building material used was not strong enough in terms of what they saw in the basement, water constantly flowing. These are allegations at this time. There are also allegations that some of the that cheap labor was used essentially, and that is the conversation about the employees who were present on site. So that is the investigation part of this. And as I take a look, and it seems like another body might be recovered, the minister in that same briefing went on to say that yes, there is an investigation that has to be conducted with regards to the employment, but at the same time, when offering help to those that have been trapped under this rubble in dust and darkness for hours at a time, for hours, they need help as human beings. So that is what is happening going forward. There's a call right now for those who can speak some of the languages, Shona, among the various languages, just to assist with psychological support for some of the families here and the survivors as well. That call made by the municipality for any interpreters to just come forward and assist them, contact the municipality too. And again, a reminder of what the minister had to say and echoed sentiments by many officials on the ground is the key objective at the site itself is to help the human beings or retrieve the bodies with dignity, while the critical investigations must go forward and have people held accountable. I'll give you another update when the minister arrives.